Hello, everyone. Welcome back for some more. Let's read Higurashi. Uh, absolutely, like full disclosure here, I read about 10 minutes of this, and then I looked over at my other computer and I saw forgot to hit the record button. So the first little bit will be not as blind, but I was so mad I like rage quit and then like refused to play for a few days and instead kind of focused exclusively on Pokemon. So I don't actually fully remember what happened. So it was okay. Remember, kids, if anything goes wrong, just get so angry you forget everything. That's the best advice I can give you. Also, apparently this is another extra long chapter, and I've been told a very good point on which to start. So when we get to that point, I will make sure to correctly stop there, and then we'll do the second half there. Because again, these are two extra long chapters, so it makes sense why we do that. Anyways, at first I thought it was a dream. I was staring at this strange sheet, not really understanding what it was. Sheet, like a bed sheet. That was all. I didn't go after it, nor did I ridicule it. Or like a piece of paper? The fact was that the boring view was the ceiling of my own room. Okay, but I didn't realize that for a fairly long time. Yes, I thought I had been dreaming, but I'd actually been staring at the ceiling the whole time. Lethargy induced by the voices of the cicadas. Even after I realized I was awake, I couldn't draw forth the energy to sit up. Everything I could see, everything I could hear, everything was like a television broadcast that had already ended. It was hot, so hot I could choke on the heat. My back was moist with night sweats, and it felt gross. Unable to endure it any longer, I tossed in my futon, and finally blood started coursing through my brain. I lazily recalled the long day I had yesterday. The reality, as I lay here listening to the voices of the cicadas, and yesterday, so different from it. In order to kill Satoko's uncle, I had rehearsed, formulated a plan, and dug a hole. It was very hot, and I was tired, wasn't I? And when the evening came, I went to school and called him out on the phone. I panicked for a moment when he asked where the police station was, but it worked out. And then I awaited him and swooped down. I couldn't remember anymore what sorts of emotions I'd let control my body. In any case, it didn't go smoothly, but I did it. It was very hard to dig the hole for the body. That feeling of the rain pelting down on me, I don't think I'll ever forget it. The rain, the mud, and the sprays of blood. The sensation of floundering in a swamp. When I met Takano-san on the way home, that wasn't good no matter how I interpreted it. Also, yeah, I got the whole thing with Takano mixed up. That was chapter 2 where she died in the fire, which, well, it was the most misfortunate and uncalculated thing that had happened that night. Everything would have been perfect if only I hadn't encountered her. Huh. I was just riding my bike, with my shovel in one hand, through the downpour, utterly soaked. There was no way someone could surmise that I was a murderer burying a body just from that information. Now that I was thinking calmly, napping under the morning sun, that's what I thought. Still, the more I thought about Takano-san's eyes, it seemed like she understood. Takano-san, she knew that I'd killed someone, buried them, and that I'd been on my way home, exhausted. Takano-san wouldn't gain anything from selling me out to the police. That didn't mean I could feel at ease.
殺しとくんだった。
It's funny because, like, this is literally how I play, like, I'd play Metal Gear, right? You kill someone, and then someone comes across where the body is, so you have to kill them, and it just keeps going. And, like, in that game, it kind of shows the futility of that whole situation. Except it's not a game for him. I had crossed such a bridge to get my tranquil life back, and I'd finally achieved it as a result. But now, for the rest of my life, for all the tranquil days starting today, I'd have to live in fear of when they could suddenly end. I may have twisted my ankle, dulled from total exhaustion. The fact that I couldn't make the snap judgment I needed to, I regretted it more and more as time went on. You didn't have a choice, Keiichi Maibara. You didn't have any choice at the time. You were tired. You were a mess. Even if you had made the decision, you might not have even been able to kill her. She might have just beaten you instead. In that sense, parting ways uneventfully could have been the safer option. No matter how sharp Takano-san's intuition was, she had no proof. Her suspecting me didn't amount to evidence by itself.
理屈じゃ分かってるさ。でも、だからって何の心配もないってわけじゃないだろ。
This is that exact feeling when you lie to someone and you're like, I did not do it as perfectly as I could have. And even if there's like no, like a 0.1% chance of them finding out, just the fact that that chance exists is enough to drive you crazy. Just worry about it when the time comes. Now isn't the time to be worrying. It's time to be smiling, right? You accomplished so much just to gain a new life starting today, didn't you? Then you should be happy at this new morning. If remembering the past is too hard for you, then just consider everything up to yesterday as having never happened. You said so yourself. You'd bury it all like it never happened. Well, your wish came true. Everything before yesterday never happened. So be happy, Keiichi Maibara.
Aye.
That's not the most enthusiastic noise, I'll be honest. I stuck up my hands lazily. Felt a little silly for me to be the one doing it. I heaved a sigh from deep in my belly. That sigh got my lungs moving. Felt like I hadn't been breathing up until now. It wasn't enough to admonish myself over. All the dice that could have been thrown already had been. And the numbers that turned up, they weren't bad at all. If I lost with those numbers, well, then I just have to give up, I guess. I grabbed the chest of my pajamas and flapped it back and forth. God, that's real. God, that is, yeah. Cool air flowed over my sweating body. Okay. Nothing before yesterday happened. Nothing. Nothing at all. I'd forget it all. Yesterday was all a dream. What time was it? About midday? Getting myself up and going to school this late seemed kind of absurd. But I needed to go. I felt like going to school would be the first step into my peaceful new life. I didn't care how late it was. I would go. I'd go to school right now and get back to the life I had retaken as soon as I could. My lazy body immediately became lighter at the thought. I rolled up out of the futon and bounced on my knees and leaped upright.
10.0.
I stuck on my chest with pride at my gymnast-like pose, then took a deep breath of fresh air. The brisk morning air had been gone for a while, replaced by the crisp air of summer. Downstairs, I got a stern talking to by my mother. Where were you last night? When did you get back? You need to tell me when you won't be home for dinner, and things like that. But considering the importance of what I'd accomplished yesterday, a little scolding was no problem. In fact, it even felt like the sort of thing that would happen in such a peaceful life. I listened with an irresponsible smile and stepped out into the sun high overhead. It was around the time lunch break would be ending. Everyone would probably be worrying about me. I didn't go to the festival, and now I wasn't at school. Well, maybe they weren't too worried about it. Since they would have gotten a small piece of news, but a happy one from Satoko today. Yes, the small piece of news that her uncle hadn't come home last night. Satoko would probably live her days in nervous tension for a while, thinking he might still come home. But eventually those days would end. And finally, Satoko too would realize her uncle was never coming back. And then Rika-chan would quietly invite her. She would say, "You can live with me again." And everything would be back to normal. Our lives would go back to how they were before that man appeared. Satoko would start wearing that extraordinary smile, complete with those protruding canines. I prefer to think of them as flesh fangs, and fool everyone with those traps she was so proud of, which I know what they mean, but I just think these are like her, the muscles. But Satoko was secretly ripped. I'd probably be her first target out of everyone, but I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I might actually shed tears of joy at the return of something so normal. Satoko, well, she'd gradually grow back into that meddlesome personality of hers. I mean, my lack of useful life skills was already completely exposed. I wondered if I'd ever be a match for Satoko. But that would be such a pleasant thing to see, too. And with such warm, fuzzy predictions, well, I didn't feel bad for going to school so late. In fact, I wanted to run there now, so to get there as soon as I could. Instead, I decided to savor the peacefulness of just going to school like normal, without running. The world I'd obtained for myself. That gave me joy just by walking like this. Yes, the world beginning on this very day was something I had won. Without that monumental feat yesterday, I would never have been able to come to school so cheerfully today. The school gate came into sight. Just then I heard the principal ring the bell to mark the end of lunch break. It was a clear, refreshing sound. I stopped despite myself and let myself take it in. I'm gonna hate these 3 letters by the time we're done, huh? I had stopped suddenly. There was an extra footstep. With the noise, the blessedness I was feeling from my whole body withdrew into any pore it could find. As if it were to replace it, I felt like hundreds of hairy caterpillars were climbing up my feet. I turned back, but of course nobody was there. Well, a single footstep could easily have been my imagination, but the footstep felt so ominous. That extra footstep I had heard after seeing Takano-san off last night. With everything that happened on that insane night, I don't mind something like that happening once. It had been a hell of a night after all. In fact, having just one hallucination was pretty fortunate. But those footsteps should have ended with yesterday. So if I heard them again today, there really was only one thing it could have meant. Last night still wasn't over. It was still going. Still, that insane night. Forever. The step I heard, just that one extra footstep, was quietly, quietly ridiculing the nonsensical notion that the world starting today was completely different from the one that ended yesterday. My classmates playing in the schoolyard all vanished inside like the tide going out. When I approached the school, it felt like that warm, fuzzy scene had ended, and it didn't feel good. At the entrance, I took a quick look in everyone's shoeboxes. Satoko Hojo, she was here, and this is where I stopped. This is the moment where I looked over and was like, "Hey, like, how's my recording going?" "Oh no, I'm not recording." And then I literally said a couple cuss words. Don't let people know. I mean, I've done it a couple times in these videos, right? I will cuss. I will cuss when the time is right. You know, I'm not a cusser, but I will if the situation calls. And I was actually like quite mad that I hadn't been recording for 15 minutes. But hey, it's all good. At least there was no big revelations. Like this was the last one, which we'll see what this means because I'm kind of two thoughts about her being back. I'm really worried we're back and she's completely normal. And then she says something like, I have to go see my uncle because I've really been thinking that was the wrong weight for the uncle. That was absolutely the wrong weight. That wasn't, I don't think that this was a case of, it's not like Fate where they just get numbers wrong for like weight and height and stuff. No, I think that was a sign perhaps that was the wrong person we killed, and I'm terrified of that concept. But let's see. Satoko Hojo. She was here. Oh, Mion was here too. And Rena, of course, and even Rika-chan was here. Tomino-kun and Okumura-kun were here. In fact, I didn't see any missing classmates. If there were shoes missing, well, they would have had to be my own. I took my shoes off and stuck them in and took out some slippers. There wasn't a single pair left in the shoe boxes anymore. With that, they returned to the rightful state. But as I stepped up onto the wooden floor, I noticed there was just one pair of slippers left. Huh? Who's?
北条聡。
Oh boy. Satoshi, who had never been to school since, well, disappearing last year. Until now, he had committed the exact same act of violence, but I guess in the very end it went differently. You couldn't make it to school, but here I am. I didn't repeat the same mistake you made. I wasn't about to let myself feel superior about that alone. Or about that. In fact, I felt an odd sense of familiarity with him. A misfortunate bond with someone I'd never met due to following the same fate. I headed down the hallway towards the usual classroom. Felt like it had been a whole year since coming here. Hey, did you forget Keiichi Maibara? Satoshi Hojo. Didn't he disappear on the night of... Didn't really disappear on the night of Watanagashi, did he? Satoshi Hojo disappeared a few days later. On Satoko's birthday, if I was right. I didn't know what day it was, but I couldn't say for sure I'd avoided Satoshi's failure unless I remained here past that day. I was still living in that night of insanity. The teacher still hadn't come to the classroom. The other door clattered open, the one the teacher wouldn't use, so everyone turned at once to see who had arrived. Everyone looked pretty vacant. Huh. Suppose I'll greet
おは
them.
よう諸君。出迎えご苦労であるぞよ。
Oh no. Silence. True horror is when your joke doesn't land. When I started to think I'd fallen flat, well, someone finally started laughing for me. That was the fakest laugh I'd ever heard. Please
お
don't.
はようけいちゃん
Oh god, did you instruct the class to treat me carefully or something? Oh god, I'm gonna scream.
今朝も飛ばしてるね飛ばしてるねケイチくんまだお祭り気分が抜けてないのかもしれないは
Hearing Mion and Rena's cheerful voices made me realize how dumb those dark feelings I've been having at the entrance really were.
おいおい、お祭り気分って、そもそも俺。
At the festival at all, remember? Before I could say that, Rika-chan smiled at me.
ケイチはちゃんと僕の演舞見ててくれましたですか
It's interesting it's playing the bell sounds.
ちゃんと見てたよあんなにいっぱい拍手してくれてたのにリカちゃん気づかなかったのかな
Oh my god, you are lying through your teeth for me.
ケイちゃんにシオンのやつがちょっかい出してきたのを無視してね。はははは。シオン、ざまあなかった。ああ、いい気分。
Mion starts laughing at the memory as she slaps me a few times on the back.
それで、あの射的屋の対決って結局どうなったんですか？
Tomina-kun was facing me and talking. There was nobody behind me. That meant he was talking to me?
あれは結局富武がビリだったのですよ。
Wait. Tomitaki took our place?
みんなで楽しく罰ゲームをしましたです。
That's kind of scary in its own way.
リカちゃんも実質ビリみたいなもんだったじゃない。あそこで起死回生の大技でガムをゲットとは、さすがは我が部の部員。
Huh.
見事だったよ。
Crying at a time like that is a feat only Furude would be allowed to do, said Okamura-kun, breathing heavily from his nose. In my direction. Everyone laughed. If anyone but Rika-chan had done it, it would have been against the rules. Rika-chan gave one of her nipa smiles as she listened to it. In my direction. Oh, we are paranoid. Oh God, it's setting in. Renna too turned to me. No, turned towards me. And then with a somewhat embarrassed smile, she whispered to me so only I could hear.
でも本当にありがとね、ケイチくん。
もう、何がだよ。
あのでっかいぬいぐるみ、
What?
すっごく嬉しかった。大事に枕元に置いてるんだよ。ちゃんと寝る前にお休みのキスしちゃった。
What? The class laughed at that, cheering and jeering. This whole time, the conversation had been a little bit off. I wasn't quite getting it.
ぬいぐるみがどうしたって？
どうしたって、昨日のお祭りでみんなで頑張って落としたよ。でっかいぬいぐるみ。でっかいぬいぐるみ。
Why are you saying it like that? Rena seemed taken aback, but she answered. When she answered, she did it with a smile.
なかなか倒せないから額を狙ったり素早く何発も撃ったりしていろいろと試したんだよね。それでケイチくん鉄砲を何丁もあらかじめ用意して素早く撃ってみせてくれたんだよね。
Okay, I'm starting to think they're not covering for us anymore. But what happened?
かっこよかった。はう。
Oh God, the nightmare is never over. Wait. Who was this?
あの後の飲み会でさ、町内会の会長連中にもケイちゃんの評判すごく良かったんだよ。
This is scary.
ケイちゃんの売り工場に惚れたって騒いでたのは子供会の君吉徳蔵会長だったかな。
Oh, Kimiyoshi. Yeah. Huh.
次の祭りではぜひケイちゃんに何店舗か任せたいって言ってた。
徳蔵はお祭りの実行委員会の模擬店部長さんなのです。
My Bar-san is great at making things sound good, isn't he? Yep, whenever he talks about something, it seems a lot better than it actually is. This is what happened in the second chapter. Haha, you can't say that, haha.
ケイチくんって売り子さんの才能があるんだね。
This is all exactly what happened on the second chapter, isn't it?
きっとバナナの叩き売りとかやったら上手だと思うよ。
さっきから何の話だよ。だいたい俺、
I didn't go to the festival in the first place. I swallowed those words. I didn't know exactly why, but in Hinamizawa, This is what had happened. Oh god, what is happening? Yesterday, during the Watanagashi festival, Keiichi Maibara had appeared, and he had romped about with all the usual members of his club. He made a big scene at a few of the stalls, snatched a few sticks of takoyaki and okonomiyaki in his glee, rating each of them as delicious or terrible to get everyone excited. And they'd seen a gigantic stuffed animal at the Target practice game, and everyone went over after it. And then I got a whole bunch of cork guns, firing them in rapid succession, throwing each one away after using it, and admirably, I shot down the biggest stuffed animal there, and then I gave the stuffed animal the proof of my victory to Rena as a gift. And our fun came to a close, as we had to go see Rika-chan's offertory dance. There was a ton of people squeezed in there, and we all got separated, but we each managed to get into good positions to cheer Rika-chan on from. Then in the middle, when Shion came up and asked me to hang out with her instead of watching the dedication dance, I refused. Okay, so it's not... Okay, so it's not the exact same as the second route, because in the second route, we did, right? We went to go follow her. So it's not the exact same. It's close to the second route, but yeah, it's not the exact same. Okay. I see. This is okay. I was almost thinking for a sec like, is the Watanagashi like a nexus for the different timelines to like converge or diverge or stuff, but no, it's a different route. But who? Who was that? I swear to God, if it was Satoshi and we do look identical. Well, everyone's been saying it, haven't they? Keiichi Maibara. I have an urge to yell in anger at my classmates for having so much fun talking about the festival yesterday with Keiichi Maibara. What the hell are you guys even talking about? Far stronger than that feeling, though, was the sheer, uncanny nature of this reality I couldn't understand. A Keiichi Maibara who wasn't me was in Hinamizawa yesterday. As I threw away my humanity, turned into a demon, and was busy beating Satoko's uncle to death. Note we haven't seen her yet. I was having a great time at the festival last night. What the hell? I had to suffer through so much, desperately holding back tears, getting so worn out in that downpour, digging holes, chasing, beating, killing, dragging, and burying. Who was this Keiichi Maibara who had ignored me so and spent such a fun, carefree time at the festival, damn it? Who the hell stood in for me as I put my life on the line, working so hard to achieve this treasure-like everyday life? If there was another Keiichi Maibara besides me, then what was I? On the night of Watanagashi, where one died and one disappeared, in accordance with Oyashiro-sama's curse, there was only a demon who had killed someone. Dumbfounded, as I succumbed to a horrifying possibility, I looked around at my classmates. To make sure there was nobody extra I didn't recognize among them. To make sure I wasn't among them. It was a horrifying thought. The real Keiichi Maibara hadn't overslept and had come to school on time. And that I, who was no longer Keiichi Maibara, had just waltzed in here. But no matter how much I checked, the only people here were the ones I knew. The man I met every time I looked in a bathroom mirror was not here.
はい。午後の授業を始めますよ。
This is terrifying.
皆さん、席に戻ってください。委員長、号令。
The teacher entered and everyone hurried back to their seats. Upon finding me, who was so stupidly late, she gave me a stern talking to, but I wasn't listening to it. Wasn't our old life supposed to start today? Something wasn't right. It was just strange. I was supposed to go back to my old fun life after yesterday. I'd set foot in an incomparably mysterious world that was completely different from both my old life and my recent one. Yes, this was without a doubt a different world than the one I'd been living in until now. There was no way such an absurd thing could be possible. But unless it was true, I couldn't explain anything that just happened. In this classroom, I was surrounded by so many faces I knew, yet I felt so isolated. The cicadas sounded no different than they had before now, but they seemed somehow false. The air was parched and dry too, making me think, was the air in Hinamizawa always this uncomfortable?
Oi, Lena.
何かな？授業中なんだよ。
昨日の祭りだけどさ、俺、いつ頃みんなと合流したっけ？
To be honest, I was pretty excited afterwards, and I gobbled down some cans of beer. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, but I don't quite remember some things. This is unvoiced because it's probably not in other versions. For random babbling, it wasn't a bad excuse.
圭一くん、最初は来れないって言ってたんだよね。みーちゃんの家にそう電話したんでしょ？
That matched. I called Mion and told her to take Satoko in my place, since I wouldn't be able to meet up with them due to things I had to do.
さとこちゃんを誘ってあげようっていうのは、みんなでお祭りの準備をしてた時に決めたんだよ。少しでもおじさんの姿の見えないところに連れ出してあげようと思って。
Okay, so, yeah, that all lines up. Yeah, that was the same too. Mion said that when I called her, that everyone had already decided to invite her.
それでみんなでレナとみーちゃんとリカちゃんでさとこちゃんの家に行ってさとこちゃんを連れ出して、さとこちゃんのおじさんすっごく意地悪そうな人だった。
That part didn't matter. What I was trying to ask
俺は
was...
いつ合流したんだ？
そんなことも忘れちゃってるの？圭一くん、だから祭りの前の日はよく寝た方がいいよって言ったのに。
だから俺はいつ合流したんだよ。
Oh boy, he is angry whispering. At my sudden threatening demand, I was at a loss for words. I shouldn't have rushed that. I told her I was sorry.
境内でだよ。ひょっこりとリカちゃんと話してたじゃない。
Okay. Huh?
うん。巫女さん姿のリカちゃんと楽しそうに話してた。それでレナも加わって「はうんお持ち帰り」って。
リカちゃんと話してたのか？
ケイちゃん、用事か何かがあったんじゃないって私が聞いたらさ、ケイちゃん胸を叩きながら自分で言ったじゃないのよ。用事なんかより祭りで大暴れする方が大切だぜって。
God, there's so many ways this could have gone that my brain is trying to parse. I didn't say that. I never said anything like that. I never even went to the shrine grounds yesterday to begin with. I never had the time to stop by a place like that. I went to dig the hole as soon as I woke up. I had a pretty hard time doing it. After that, I snuck into the school and made a call. I called him out and lay in wait. Then it started raining really hard. With that kind of downpour, the festival should have come to a halt. In other words, it ended then. From the time the festival started to when it ended, it would have been impossible for me to have swung by the shrine grounds. I was already there when Mion and the others dragged Satoko out and brought her to the shrine, and I was talking to Rika-chan. Then, where would Rika-chan say we met? The teacher went out to wash her hands, so I ran over to Rika-chan's desk and asked her directly.
圭一とですか？
ああ、リカちゃんはミオンたちが来る前から。
Again, note that there is no Satoko yet, right?
いつ俺に会ったんだ？いつどこでだよ？
圭一が何を聞きたいのかわからないのです。
俺昨日寝不足で半分頭がぼーっとなっててさ、何も覚えてないんだよ。
Looked like Rika-chan bought into my babbling.
圭一と会ったのは集会所から村長さんたちと出てきた時なのです。圭一は西宮殿の扉の前にいましたのですよ。
Okay.
え、何？西宮殿？
I'd never heard a building called that before. Maybe I have, but at the very least, I wouldn't know where on the shrine grounds it was.
村長さんがそこは神聖な場所だからみだ
Okay,
りに
that's
近寄ってはならにゅうと怒りましたですよ。
that is, yeah, similar to than the second route.
ケイチ、それも忘れてしまいましたですか？
I was too scared to ask any more. The more I asked, the more it became clear without any doubt that Keiichi Maibara was present at the Furude Shrine grounds during the Watanagashi festival. The clearer that became, the more doubts, no, fears I had. Who on earth was I yesterday? Whoever that was, he had a good time in my place. I managed to go the entire day without letting them notice I wasn't there. Oh, right. When did that person leave everyone? This morning, my mother got mad at me for having stayed out so late last night, which meant at the very least that Keiichi Maibara hadn't come home while my mom was still awake. The festival would have closed because of the downpour. If I recall right, when I went back to the house's storage room to get another shovel, I think the clock said 7. Since it was already raining hard by then, the festival would have come to a close, or would have had to close down before 7. If I'd returned that early, I would have definitely run into my parents. Or at the very least, they wouldn't have asked me when I got back last night. So, the Keiichi Maibara from yesterday, that meant he never went home. That meant the downpour happened and the festival was broken up and everyone left. But he didn't go back to the house. That means... When I arrived at the natural conclusion, a wicked chill suddenly froze up my spine and climbed up into my brain. That meant Keiichi Maibara was the same as Satoshi. One day, he never went home. On the night of Watanagashi, he never went home. The downpour interrupted the festival, and on the way home, he suddenly disappeared. And I, who was dealing with the corpse, went home without a problem. I was so tired I wasn't even hungry, so I went up to my room without a sound and crawled into my futon. Who was I? Well, that much was obvious. Keiichi Maibara. Keiichi Maibara was me. There may have been another, but that doesn't negate the fact that I was Keiichi Maibara. Then, that other Keiichi Maibara was what? The voices of the cicadas steadily filling the classroom were beginning to bother me. Suddenly, I had laid eyes on Satoko. Okay, so she has been here? Oh boy, well wait. Is this her grieving her uncle not coming back, or what? Satoko's expression was dark as always. She seemed completely exhausted. I had a life of agony she couldn't even imagine an ending to. What had last night been like for Satoko? Did she have fun with everyone and feel a little happier, if even for a moment? And when she went home, the end of her dream, she'd probably gone to sleep afraid of when her uncle would return. And then, this morning, her uncle hadn't come home. And then she went to school. Right now, she must be still trapped by the rotten idea from which she couldn't be saved. That her uncle would need her when she got back. But you can rest easy, Satoko. Your uncle won't ever be coming back. I couldn't tell her because I'd killed him. When Satoko realized on her own that her uncle would never return, that would truly be the end of that long, insane night. That's right. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the best possible thing I could have as Satoko's Nini. Not an atom in my body regretted it. And look, calm down and think, Keiichi Maibara. From a certain point of view, Isn't it convenient there was another Keiichi Maibara? I buried the corpse perfectly. A beginning wouldn't happen. But if worst came to worst, it got out. The investigation got to me. I now had a strong alibi, able to profess the fact that I'd been at the Watanagashi festival. But accepting something so creepy and using it as an alibi, well, still, if I proved I hadn't gone to the festival yesterday, it would do no good and a whole lot of harm. That was what left the really, actually bad aftertaste. You'll forget about it, Keiichi Maibara. Everything that happened before today. So forget about the Keiichi Maibara who was there yesterday too. Instead, let's watch gently over Satoko for the day her smile returns. And the day that would mark the end of that insane all too long night.
それでは今日はこれで終わりです。
Boy, we didn't absorb anything from class today.
皆さん、寄り道をしないでちゃんとお家へ帰るんですよ。委員長、号令。
That
起立。気をつけ。
that reads to me like a there has been an emergency in the town that everyone knows about sort of message. Goodbye. Thought about many things, and saw my thoughts dispersed by many other things. I didn't know whether or not that time had been spent worrying or daydreaming, but either way, it came to an end along with the class. Cheerfully, our classmates got their things and ran for the hallway. Mion, Rena, and Rika-chan were all packing up as well. What about Satoko? This whole day, she seemed deflated. Well, her uncle may not have returned last night, but she wouldn't have known he'd never return. How much I wanted to express that fact to her. Satoko packed up her pencil box and math workbook messily, and after a dark glance at the clock, heaved a sigh, and then went to leave the classroom. Then, suddenly, somebody placed a hand on her shoulder and stopped her.
何ですの？私、ちゃんと水やり当番もやりましたし、プリントだってちゃんと。
Her words, possessed by a persecution complex, hurt. I spoke loudly so everyone could hear.
なあみんな
Wait. Somebody placed a hand and stopped her. That's a really interesting word choice for you?
今日は久しぶりにやらないか
Is he actually starting to disassociate with himself?
部活
Satoko always had to tend to her uncle, so club had been on hiatus. In our minds, our club was proof of a calm, peaceful life. By enjoying being together, I wanted to make Satoko realize her days of darkness were over.
レナは、いいよ。
It's not an answer.
まあ、私は構わないけど、さとこがいいならね。
Under a condition. That was important. With everything up to her, Satoko gave me a worried look.
なあサトコ久々にどうだよパーッとさ
その、お気持ちは嬉しいでございますけど。
My uncle might already be home. Thus spoke her darkened eyes, her mouth unmoving.
サトコもさ連日息が詰まるような生活をずっと続けててさそんなのは心にも体にも悪いだけだぜやっぱりたまにはパーッと弾けなきゃな
And she's probably gonna say, well, that's what yesterday was for, right?
放っておいてくださいまし。私だって、そりゃ部活がまたやれたらと思っていますわよ。
With one word, but. She looked down.
みんなで遊んだ方が楽しいのはサトコだってよく知ってるだろ俺たちは仲間だぜみんなで一緒に過ごすようにできてるんだよサトコだって昨日みんなでお祭りで騒いで楽しかったろ
Uh-oh. Wait, did she have a terrible time? Rena nearly said something, but she was too late.
ケイチさん、何を言ってますの？
Oh god, what if she had a terrible time? My arm on her shoulders seemed to weigh her down and she threw it off.
私がお祭りで楽しくいつ遊んだって言うんですの？楽しく遊んだのは圭一さんだけじゃありませんの。
I looked over to Mion for help, but now everyone was looking down. My instincts told me that Satoko... Oh no, she hadn't even gone to the festival. But Rena said it herself. That when she went with Mion to Satoko's house to invite her... Oh, but the invite doesn't mean she brought her.
さとこちゃん、途中で帰っちゃったの。
Oh.
神社には行かなかった。
どうして？
I realized the absurdity of what I just said with Satoko in front of me.
おじが家で待ってるのに一人だけ遊んでると悪いって言って、神社の直前で。
私たちも引き止めたんだよ。今日はおじさん公認だからちゃんと遊んでも怒られないんだよって。
At some point, tears had begun welling up in Satoko's eyes. Satoko was so afraid of her uncle that she couldn't even allow herself time with her friends and went home. No. She was even afraid of letting herself have a good time with her
圭一
friends.
さんはいいですわね。みんなで楽しくお祭り一夜を過ごせて。聞けば大層盛り上がって大活躍だったそうじゃないですの。お羨ましいことですわ。
Smiling to herself, her tears began to fall. Aww.
私には養わなければならないおじがいますの。
Oh, something about this sprite is killing me. Man, except for the fact that the button back there makes it look like she has an earring.
圭一さんみたいにご両親にのんびり養ってもらってる人とはわけが違いますですのよ。
さとこ。
楽しくお祭りが過ごせてよかったですわね。私の分まで楽しく過ごせて本当におよろしかったですこと。
She sounds mad.
私だって部活がしたいですわ。みんなで楽しく大騒ぎして楽しくて楽しくて。でも今の私そんなの
Unable to withstand such violent emotion, a few teardrops slid down her cheek. But even though she was having such a terrible time, not once did she ever say it was hard for her. It was a sad, obstinate bravery. But the days when Satoko had to feel like that were over. Satoko didn't need to endure it, to bear it anymore. Oh God, is he gonna say like, you don't have to go see him, he might not even be home, and she might be like, no, I know he's home. And that's when we feel really bad. She could forget all about it now, and yeah, Sadako didn't need to endure it to bear it anymore. She could forget all about it now and smile. I was so frustrated at not being able to tell her that directly. Instead, I said something that I'm not, oh God, not sure I should have said, or I thought twice about it.
帰ってこないんだろ、あいつは。
Oh boy, buddy. You are flying close to the sun. The words were deeply meaningful to me. I didn't know if Satoko understood them.
帰ってこないって誰がですの？
ゆうべは帰らなかったんだろ、お前のお家は。
Oh, what's happening?
何を言ってますの、圭一さんは。
Oh God, it's happening. Oh, we killed the wrong person. We killed the wrong person. Satoko shouted with all her might.
あいつがいついなくなったって言うんですの？
We killed the wrong person. We killed the wrong person. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, we should have double checked. Oh, he was on the motorcycle and he had a helmet on. And then once we destroyed his face, you couldn't really tell. He was too light. He was way too light. We should have known when he was way too light, right? Cause like, why would this big fat bastard, who would be right, literally, we haven't even seen what he looks like, but from his voice, he sounds like the fat bastard tag, right? Like, this dude shouldn't have been so light. Oh God. Oh God. So who did we kill? Who did we kill?
いつ
落ち着けよ。だって昨日あい
Oh
つは
god.
帰って
圭一さんが何を言ってるのか全然わかりませんでしたよ。
さとここそ何を言ってんだよ。だってあの男は
I killed him. I killed him yesterday. Killed him for sure. And I buried him. Buried him whole. Could never have returned to his house.
昨日だって私にいっぱい意地悪して、怒鳴って、わめいて、当たり散らして、作ったご飯を投げられた。お味噌汁もひっくり返された。
Not the miso soup!
暑かった、汚かった、そしてお掃除も私がした。私がああ
What? Our stories weren't matching up.
あいつ
今朝だって朝ごはんの時起こせって言われたから起こしたのに怒られた。起こさなかったらまた怒るように起こしても怒られた。
さとこ
Oh, there's something about Rika with the inverted colors with that face that is absolutely terrifying. Rika-chan went over to Satoko and said a few words of consolation. But Satoko angrily refused those words and thrust Rika-chan away.
ニーニー、ニーニー、早く帰ってきてよ。
Crying, Satoko slowly walked out into the hallway. After a moment, Rika-chan went after her. I couldn't stop thinking about the words Satoko had spoken while crying. I buried her uncle last night, but she said this morning that was impossible. I buried him last night, so she couldn't have seen her uncle this morning. What was Satoko? At that point, I heard Mion's cold voice.
ねえケイちゃん、
Oh God.
サトコのおじさんが帰ってこないって何？
Well, I said too much. I let my emotions get the better of me.
レナも聞いたよ。
Oh God. No, Rena, don't put on that face. You're terrifying when you're talking like this.
さとこちゃんのおじさんが帰ってこないって言った。
どうして？なんで帰ってこないの？
おかしいよね。だって今朝もちゃんとさとこちゃんのおじさんはいるんだよ。
Guys, I'm so scared right now.
なのになんで帰ってこないなんて言うのかな。
I don't know.
かな。
That's why I'm scared.
ケイちゃん、言ってることがさっきから変。
Suddenly, Mion and Rena started to speak in strange and creepy voices, which we haven't heard since the first chapter, really. What were they doing? What were they saying?
ケイちゃんは
Oh God.
サトコのおじさんがいると何か都合が悪いことでもあるわけ？
お前らこそ何を言ってるんだ。さとこのおじなんかいない方がいいに決まってるだろうが。
Oh God.
それはもちろんいない方がいいよね。よね。
I have a feeling that when we see these blue eyes, I don't think this is them talking. And I don't mean that in a they are being like possessed sort of thing. I think it's the person seeing the crazy blue eyes. I think it is their own perception that is being warped. Whether it's a mystic thing or if it's just a proper psychosis, I don't know. Something wasn't right. What is this music too? It's like very light and terrifying. Next thing I knew, Mion and Rena were smiling thinly, and their eyes were dark and muddy in a way I'd never seen before. And as our eyes met, that mud even seemed to fill the air.
サトコのおじは確かに嫌なやつだよね。私もいなくなった方がいいやつだと思うよ。でもさ、いるわけだし、仕方ないじゃない。
Nothing we can do. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong here. What the hell was happening? After a moment, a chilly, liquid-like feeling as though my blood had been mixed with sherbet crawled up my spine.
仕方ないって、そりゃ仕方ないけど、でもそれじゃ佐藤が。
仕方がなければどうするのかな。
Rena was trying to prompt me to say more, and her eyes are back to normal. There really was no choice, so I killed him. I killed him to protect Satoko.
それは
放っておきなよ。
There's a horrible ringing noise that happens too when this is going on. More than the normal ringing noise.
そのうち解決しちゃうと思うしさ。
さとこちゃんがおじさんがいるって言ってるんだからいる。ちゃんと昨日もいたし、今朝もいる。
Why are they like this? Why are they like
そうなら
this?
そうでいいんじゃないかな。かな。
Mion and Rena were speaking unbelievably dismissively. How could they be talking like that? Mion and Rena, they were my friends and were seriously worried about Satoko's abuse, weren't they? They would never blurt out something like this. And I definitely killed Satoko's uncle. No matter what Satoko or anyone else says, I wouldn't acknowledge it because him being alive was impossible. There was no way he was alive. It was impossible. And yet, since Satoko herself said he was here, then he was alive. I didn't know why or how, but suddenly Mion and Rena were at my sides, standing there silently.
帰ろうよ、ケイちゃん。
帰ったらね、今日は久しぶりにレナ、宝探しに行くつもりなんだ。みーちゃんも来るんだよ。
ケイちゃんも一緒に行こ
Okay, wait, are we back in normal world? Normal
う。
perception?
もちろん拒否権はないからね。
Okay, no, well, it's normal perception, but they're still acting like this. That's real. If words could freeze blood, and there was no doubt that they would have frozen me solid. I could hear it, a strange sound like a layer of thin ice spreading, emanating from every joint in my body. With them closely at my sides, we left the school, as if they were police officers, taking me away. They talked about silly things the entire way home, like they always did. But they always stood at my sides, as if to prevent me from escaping. This was strange. Everything about this day was strange. Actually, it had been strange ever since the previous night. Yes, thinking back, it'd been strange ever since killing Satoko's uncle. That creepy meeting with Takano-san was only the beginning. That insane night was still continuing. Yes, it hadn't ended still.
何？どうしたのケイちゃん。急に立ち止まったりして。
ごめん、なんでもないよ。
When I stopped, it was distant, but I definitely heard them. An extra set of footsteps. That was proof. Proof that insane night hadn't ended. Mion left where she usually did, and finally we came to my house.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。お家で待っててね。レナ、すぐに迎えに行くから。
What was it? She was inviting me along on one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at the dam site, right? Why now? Mion coming along was strange too. Mion may have accepted Rena's little hobby, but she hated fishing through garbage, so she'd never come here with her before. And the location specifically being the dam site was a little creepy. The dam construction site was completely outside the flow of everyday life. It was so remote that no one ever went there unless they thought to in particular. Nobody lived there, and there were no lights, so at night it got dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. There was no reason I had to fear Rena and Mion. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd make by refusing them be a pain to deal with? In that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea. But that insane night was continuing. Hadn't the sirens of instinct been wailing in my mind for a while now? Warning me that Ren and Mion were strange. That I needed to be cautious. The warning sirens were so freaking loud it felt like my head would split in two.
あ、レナ、俺、実はちょっと用事があるんだ。
Is she just gonna hit us with the, like, no you don't?
用事？何の？
なんのって、用事だよ、用事。
用事なら、なんでみーちゃんがいるうちに言ってくれなかったの？みーちゃんとはダム現場で待ち合わせって言って別れちゃった後なのに。
Ren was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear.
ごめん、ちょっと言い出すタイミングを逃しちゃって。
本当に？
Oh, you're lying, aren't you? You just made that up now, you liar. That's what Rena's eyes said to me.
俺、頭が痛いんだ。
Just hit her with the, like, the vibes aren't right, you know?
風邪かもしれない。だから、病院に行って薬をもらってきたいんだよ。
本当に？
Oh god, that wasn't really a lie. My head did hurt a little bit, so I wasn't lying. Rena, she couldn't figure out if my head hurt or not just by looking at it.
なら仕方ないね。
After staring me in the eyes for a few moments, she fired a sharp needle-like stare at me. The tension in my body loosened and I felt like my knees might buckle.
診療所に行くなら早く行った方がいいと思うよ。
Oh god, wait, that's where Takano
あ
is.
そこたまに早く閉まるから。
ありがとう。そうするよ。
必ず行くんだよ、病院。
行くよ。
God, the way she said that so curtly and the way she is not doing her double talk, you know?
本当に行くんだよ。
Yeah, like that's terrifying.
行く。
Having a character who always talks like this, then start talking like this is scary. Seemed like Rena had realized that I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. With how serious she looks, she might actually call the clinic later to make sure I went. I couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was just an excuse to decline a request in the first place. It didn't matter whether I actually went.
ちゃんと行くよ。なんなら明日、病院のレシートを持って行ってもいい。
Oh, buddy, that's even more suspicious.
それいいね。必ずもらっておいてね。レナ、明日見るから。
Another tingle started crawling up my back. There was no ignoring it. Ren and Mion must have been monitoring my movements. That wasn't normal. Far from it. All of it was insane. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back. But what on earth was all this? It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, leaving the world out of order. With the other, Keiichi Maibara. With those creepy footsteps I've been hearing. With Rena and Mion acting so curious. And above all, with him being alive. Where was I? In Amizawa village, Shishibone. I knew that much. Was this really the Hinamizawa I knew?
おい、前原圭一。ここはどこなんだ？
Do you remember? I've been saying that the way he addresses himself as Keiichi Maibara in his own brain really strikes me as there is a separate one of him. But I don't imagine he like asexually reproduced overnight and like another Keiichi popped out. I don't think so. But I can't fully dismiss the idea that the Keiichi-lings are out there. I asked, whipping around before the front door, to face the one who had been following in my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Keiichi Maibara, huh? That's what I just called him. Called the one who had been trailing behind me this whole time. That shadowy presence. Always clinging to me. Like it was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. Footsteps always following me. Was another impossibility. It couldn't have been a ghost. So it was just impossible. So the strangeness must have been my ears, my head, or Hinamizawa. Everything I could see was the exact same Hinamizawa I knew so well. And that gave me the creeps. Eventually, I decided to actually go to the clinic. I really didn't want to go outside, but a stronger feeling of that desire was the fear that Rena might actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at school. Okay. This here was the moment that I was told would be the good stopping point for this chapter. Which is, yeah, returning to the school to check for something. I was like, I wonder when that's going to come up. I was told that, and you know what? This is a good point to go to see what's going on after this. I do have a lot I like, this is good that we're stopping here, because I have a lot I want to chew on right now. Right? Like, what the frick is happening, man? This is so not the direction I thought this chapter would go. Right? Not at all. I thought it would be like, yeah, the murder would happen, and I kind of predicted the path, but this was not the path whatsoever. So, let's go back to school, and then see what's going on, and then I guess we'll go to the clinic after that, but, oh boy. We'll continue on with that, guys, next time for some more Let's Read Higurashi as we continue the Tatarigoroshi chapter, which again means, like, curse, right? So it's like, that also has some meanings, so terrifying. All right, guys. We'll see you then. Ciao.